Welcome back to Casting Confidential for our third season. I'm your host, Rose Rosen, and we've got such an exciting season ahead for you, filled with amazing guests, from top celebrities to some of the best casting directors in the business. Plus, we have a special surprise waiting for you at the end of each episode, so make sure you listen all the way through. I know you're gonna love it. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to thank our incredible sponsors who make this show possible: Casting Networks and Wright Positive Films. Their support helps us bring you the very best of the casting world every week. Looking to land your next big role? Casting Networks is where more high-quality roles are booked than any other casting service. With an annual membership, you'll unlock every tool you need to stand out. Unlimited headshots and reels, submission tracking, even the chance to link your socials and showcase your personal brand. On the go, the Casting Network's iOS app makes it easy to find and submit to roles anytime, anywhere. Right now, Casting Confidential listeners get $65 off an annual membership. Just use code CONFIDENTIAL at checkout or try it free for 14 days. Head to castingnetworks.com/confidential and get ready to get noticed. But hurry, this offer won't last long. I want to tell you about something that's truly changing the game for working actors. Shamika Wright, yes, a working actress and filmmaker with over 20 years of experience, is now offering exclusive one-on-one coaching through Wright Positive Films. And let me tell you, this isn't your average actor coaching. This is real-world audition to booking strategy, personal to you, and led by someone who actually gets what it takes. If you're getting callbacks but not bookings, are you ready to own your next role? This is your next right move. Head to wrightpositive.com/book-online. That's WRIGHT positive.com/book-online and get ready to strengthen your acting skills in an authentic, empowering, and intentional way today. You'll thank yourself later, and maybe me too. Hey, actors, need a reader but don't have anyone around, or maybe your friend's on the way and you want to get a head start and run it a few times on your own? Check out RAFY, the app that scans your sides, lets you pick from over 60 voices to read with, and has an optional teleprompter built right in. It works in multiple languages, and there's a web version too if you prefer using your computer. Whether you're rehearsing, memorizing, or recording a self tape, RAFY gives you the flexibility to do it all on your own time. Try it now at rafy.app. That's RAFY.app. And check the show notes for a 10% discount code. You'll thank me later. And with that, let's jump right into today's show.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Casting Confidential, the podcast that takes you inside the audition room and behind the scenes with the actors, casting directors, and creatives shaping the industry. I'm your host, Rose Rosen, and joining me today is my co-host, Molly Knight, who's a powerhouse of casting stationed in Toronto, Canada. Molly actually got her start in the industry as my assistant. And now she's casting commercials and indie films and series, you name it, she's doing it worldwide. And with an incredible eye for grounded, authentic talent. Well, we all know how I feel about my previous assistant, Molly. Welcome, Molly.
Thanks, Rose. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I'm happy to have you. And today's special guest actor is someone whose work speaks for itself. It's Brandon Jay McLaren. Hey, Brandon. All right, I'm gonna gush on you a little bit. This year, Brandon will star in Netflix's new series, Wayward, and recently appeared in season 3 of The Cleaning Lady on Fox, playing Jeremy Dolan, a charming handyman with a secret. You might also know him as Buckley from Snowfall, Officer Jackson from The Rookie or Dale J. Jakes from Graceland, which earned him the Golden Maple Award for Best Actor. We'll talk about that later. He's also appeared in Firefly Lane, Turner and Hooch, Ransom, Unreal as the hot Dr. Simon. That's just my take on that one. Chicago Fire, The Killing, and more. Today, we'll hear about the craft, the challenges behind the scenes, and the choices that have kept Brandon working consistent, consistently across genres and platforms. And let's get into it. Welcome, Brandon.
Well, so much for having me. This is very exciting, and I'm deeply honored. Thank you.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, I mean, I'm just not going to let it go without talking about, you were the Red Power Ranger.
Well, listen, it's out there. Let's, there's no secrets here. Let's
I mean,
just.
I don't know if I've ever seen a more varied resume than yours. I mean, you go from Red Power Ranger to romantic leads to slasher movies.
Yeah, to crooked police officers to heroes. Yeah, it's I've been really lucky. I think, especially like working in the television space where I feel like they tend to cast like towards type. So to get to play sort of like against type a lot of the times is really like a blessing, and I feel real fortunate.
That's something that for sure stands out to me about you is just the range of roles that you play. Also, you're seemingly everywhere, uh, which is amazing. I mean, I'm often watching, and I'll DM you. I'll be like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were on this show," because you're seemingly on everything. And yeah, with such a range. I mean, you have the comedy chops, you have the drama, you have, I mean, yeah, the heartthrob, all of it going on, which is just like a dream, I think, for most actors.
Tell
Yeah,
me
it
how
really.
your relationship has changed with the audition process, like from the start to now.
Oh man, I mean, well, obviously
Right?
now is self-tape, which I think like when all that changed, I think a lot of actors were like, "Oh, what a relief! Now I can kind of like have a little more control over the delivery." And it's really interesting. I feel like within the last 6 months, I've really been like yearning to get into the room again, um, just because there's a certain like showing up and like there's a certain quality of like when you're in the room of like being able to sort of like grab the attention of people who are watching and like holding it, which you just don't get in a self-tape scenario. Um, so yeah, I'm sort of like, kind of yearning and longing to go back into the room again. And I don't know
Not
because
gonna happen. Get
opening.
over it.
Pardon me?
Not gonna happen.
No, it's not, right?
No,
No.
no, 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 no. Really, don't be yearning. Like, and I mean, I hate to say that. We all kind of love it, but
No.
we're in a business, right? And what we have to do, and I think you know it instinctively, or you wouldn't be working this long, is we have to go with what is happening. And like we said before this, we were talking about AI. It's like you can't get rid of it. You have to know how to protect yourself and live with it and use it. All of that.
Well,
So
I just did an in-person screen test like 6 months ago, so it's
yeah,
like
after they know you, after you send
yeah.
in a self tape. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's just it. I think that that for callbacks and especially for chemistry reads and stuff like that, it's invaluable to be in person. I mean, it's very hard to do that via Zoom or virtually, honestly. So I think that will stick around. But yeah, the initial, you know,
Yeah, so like first rounds, like sort of like weeding out
Right, for
yeah.
sure.
a couple like selects if everybody's happens to be, available. Um, that said, yeah, I mean, what was the original question about just my relationship with auditioning?
Like, how has, like from the beginning, you were how young, right? When you started,
So I
and you were going to auditions, right? And up until now, that where you're still now you're self-taping and you're going in the room for for chemistry reads, you know, not of course, because we still do them on Zoom too, depending on where people are. But so tell me about like how you're feeling, what happens to you as an actor. I want our listeners to understand um this longevity process. I think that needs to be uncovered.
Okay, yeah. I think I think from what I can glean from what you're asking is sort of the way I view auditioning is that it's not a finished product. You know, I always say like you're not going to win. There's no Emmys for auditions. You know,
Right.
so like go in there, especially if you're reading in front of like a casting person and or a director, go in there with whatever idea you have and also be open to like changing it. You know, I've had the luxury of like being series regulars on shows and being in the room where they're bringing in people to read who are going to play opposite me. And I think what I noticed the most, or what was most glaring to me, is that you know a lot of actors come in with their ideas, and then the director says, "Cut, that was great. Why don't we try this?" And then they just do the same thing that they just did.
Right, that's
You know
terrible.
what I mean? And so I try to tell a lot of actors, I'm like, even if sometimes like you don't get the note or you know you don't have time to kind of really digest it, just do something different. You
Excellent.
know, just do something different so that they can see that on the day you have a couple different colors to your performance so that they can put the edit together later on. But yeah, don't come in there and be rigid and sort of be like, well, these are the beats that I have. No, no, open yourself up and allow yourself to fail and play around because the best directors I've worked with are the ones who are like, hey, let's just try it this way. It may not make sense on the page, but like, let's just give it a shot because we might catch two or three moments that I can use in the cut. And so I think for me, that's kind of been what sort of kept me around enough, I think, because like I'm malleable enough to be able to kind of give a couple different versions of the same scene.
No, I love that. So, and maybe on the same lines, but not exactly. So, like, one of your biggest roles was the Power Ranger, the Red Power Ranger, and crazy about that. And the thing is, what I wanted because we didn't see your face, right?
No, we saw,
You saw
no, you
his
saw,
face. We
oh,
did see your face.
no, you did the whole show. It
Yeah.
was
Oh, what do I know? See, I was looking at clips where we didn't see your face,
uh,
and I couldn't remember because
yeah,
I
yeah, it was
thought I
a
was
long
watching.
time.
Oh, so that's good. So then my question is silly because I was gonna say, what's it like to be an actor where they don't see your face?
No, in fact, whenever we were in the like in the with the mask, that was never me. That was our stunt doubles.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I actually never really put on the helmet one time.
But I guess you must have done a bunch of like combat training, did you not? I mean,
Not a lot.
sequences in there. I can imagine where they're cutting for the stunt.
That one wasn't me in most. And also that was like a big jump just for time because our stunt team was straight from Japan and they were so great. So like what would take me 29 takes, they could do it in 3 and move on. So it was just more economical time-wise and probably money-wise to have a stunt team. So no, we didn't get to do a whole whack of martial arts. Thank goodness.
So take us back to that audition process. Tell
Yeah.
me what you remember, like
For
how
Power.
it. Yes.
Hey. Stephanie Gorin cast me in that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and this was in 2004. So I had just finished university in 2002. So this is probably my second year in the business.
Wow.
And I had sent a tape out, didn't even know the show was still going on because I remember it from when I was like in 7th grade. And I was like, why am I auditioning for Power Rangers? And I'm like, oh, shit, that shit's still going on.
Wait, when you say you sent a tape out, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What was that tape? Was that like it wasn't a link?
VHS. It was a VHS. And no, because this is how we did it back in the day.
This is what I want to hear.
I would have to go in my agent's office and she would tape me. And then she would give me a FedEx envelope with the tape inside. And then little old Brandon would have to go and give it to the person and deliver the tape. And then who knows,
Great.
5 days might pass. and
Yeah.
they tape. What and honestly, Rose, thank you for reminding me of that because like I kind of forgot about how like
Isn't that the greatest?
the
Yes.
wild way of doing business, but that was done.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yeah. And then, all right, so there that was Power Rangers. Let's take a moment and talk about your casting for Unreal. I'm just doing my favorites.
Yeah, let's do it. I was actually in Budapest doing season 2 of Ransom when I booked Unreal. We had just wrapped season 2. My co-star, Sarah Green, we taped that in my apartment, in her apartment in Budapest. We sent it away
Wait,
and
how did you tape it? Was there an iPhone around then or not so much, right?
that was iPhone days for sure.
Okay, cool.
Like I want to say 2015-ish,
Yeah.
maybe even later, maybe like the later 20 teens. Sent a tape out, and then I was flying back to LA like a week later because I said we just wrapped the show, and then I had a call back in the room here, and I remember I'll never forget this. It was my first kind of in-person audition since wrapping the show, and I went in and I thought I did a terrible job, and I called my brother right after, and I was like, Shh. He's like, how did it go? I was like, man, I was like, it's just weird being in an audition room again because I've been on the show for the last 6 months. And lo and behold, like a week later, they're like, yeah, you're first choice, and then I put the job.
There you go.
Yeah.
So cool. By the
Yeah.
way, Rose and I are big fans of that show.
It's
Oh,
incredible. And Sherry Appleby is one of my favorite humans on the
oh my
planet.
God.
She's so talented. One of the best actors I've ever had the chance to work opposite.
We have to talk after because I need her on this show. So let's discuss.
Oh, yeah, Sherry. I mean, I could hit her up and see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm obsessed with her. I mean that, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All good things. And your character on that show was amazing. All right, then let's fast forward to, I don't know, Graceland. You pick anything in the
Graceland
more
was
current.
Graceland was actually before all of that. Yeah,
Right, right, right. Oh,
yeah.
no, you're right. That
No hair.
was.
And I cut my hair. I cut my locks off and the finale of season 3 of Graceland, and then we got canceled. And then after that, I did Ransom, and I did Slasher, and then I did Unreal. That was
And you did Chicago Fire, right? Because I saw that episode and you didn't have the hair. I was wondering because I was watching that. I remember seeing that episode of Graceland where you cut off, which is an incredible scene, by the way. Like you just, it's so powerful. But yeah, I was wondering, I was like, this looks very real. I don't think this is
we did it for
some kind of a wig situation or something. And wow, yeah, how much that maybe changed the roles that you were
oh,
up for after that, right? Because
I had never been an actor without them before that.
the
So
dress.
I was also like a little bit like, like, oh, like part of me was like I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it because, like, you know what I mean? We've got 10 years of 12 years of having your hair like this. And casting is obviously a visual thing. But yeah, and then I started to play, doctors, and on Ransom, I was like a tech profiler person. So yeah, my roles completely switched when I cut them, and now since I've grown back, back to playing um cool bad people again.
I love
So
that it's such a that you can just sort of flip it when you choose to,
did you cut the locks and then get the part or vice versa?
I cut the locks, and right after that, I was going to go to do Slasher. Literally, like the week after we wrapped Graceland, and I already known I'd got the Slasher part, but I told Aaron Martin, who's a dear friend of mine, I was like, "Hey, man, just so you know, I'm coming to your show. I'm gonna have no hair because I'm cutting
Yeah,
it off."
that's a big difference.
And so, which was cool because I already had a role lined up with no hair. So that was a little bit of I felt a little better about it, like that. I was like, oh, I don't have to go searching. It was already lined up. I went straight from Miami to Sudbury, which was also like a bit of a shock. So I already had a role lined up with no hair, so I kind of like it worked out well. So I was like, at least I have something under my belt and like a body of work to show people with the new look. And I'm not out here like searching frantically, being like, please cast me. I look different.
I mean, it's a huge thing because that look, unless you get a wig, which is not the same look, let's face it, is really hard to recreate. And how long does it take you to get back to that?
I've been growing them back now for like 5, 6 years. So
Right. That's the crazy thing. And it's crazy to be known as the guy with and without that.
yeah, truly, in Snowfall, luckily they wigged me in Snowfall because it was like a period show. But even in that show, when I got cast, I went to go to I was doing the Rookie at the time, and because I did two shows simultaneously for 2 years. I did Snowfall and the Rookie at the same time, uh,
Wow.
which was mad. That's like a whole nother weird space to be in. But I showed up at the Snowfall makeup trailer and like, hey, so we're gonna cut your hair, and I was like, huh?
Oh no, you can't do yeah.
I'm the Rookie right now. Like, I have to go shoot the Rookie in like 3 days.
Can't do that.
Like, so I called my agent. I was like, dude, like, I auditioned like this. Like, nobody said we signed the deal. Like, nobody said anything about cutting hair. So we worked it out, and they ended up wigging me, and it all worked out. So, but yeah,
That's crazy on first day that stuff wasn't
I know.
telegraphed to before then.
Yeah, I mean, like, but these are the kind of things like when you're in the wild and in the world, like little like messages get mixed, people don't communicate, or communication gets misconstrued, and so it's important to just to have like clarity, or else you might show up and they're like, "Why do you look like this?"
Hair's a
Absolutely.
big deal.
Yeah.
I always talk to actors about their male actors mostly about their facial hair. And have an idea how long it takes to grow whatever, the mustache, the scruff, and have some snaps of all of that. So you got to be in tune. Like this takes you 5 years, but you know, and then you as a working actor, I think you have to have the figure in your head of how much, if you're in between jobs, how
Mhm.
much is that paycheck in order that's going to be okay for them to ask you to cut it.
Also, too, like, and even like stuff like if you're gonna shave your beard or something, I always go reach out to my agents and be like, "Hey, is there anything like pending or like?" Because like sometimes
Right,
might be percolating for a couple of weeks and they won't tell you. And
right,
like, hey, you're shortlisted. And you're like, well, I don't look like how I did last week. So
right.
I would like check in too and be like, before I make any kind of like marketable change to like, I would be like, hey guys, like just I'm thinking about doing this. Is there anything in the works behind the scenes that I should know about? And
Huge note, huge note. The commercial actors seem to know that a little more because it's all so quick, and
right.
you have to be really consistent. But the film and TV actors, you can have a little bit more variety with your look. Not usually as much as you do, but it works for you. It's incredible. I mean, the whole internet's a buzz with Julia Roberts has a blonde short haircut right now.
I
So
haven't seen that yet. I've been watching the thing with the couple, the CEO at the Coldplay concert. That's
Oh my gosh, wasn't that something?
just like fills up my whole timeline. I love it.
Oh my god. All right. So let's talk about booking versus not booking. Have you ever had an audition that you thought went great and didn't book the job, and or vice versa? Let's discuss.
Yeah, there's a few. I think some of my most sort of like formative auditions are ones that I actually didn't book. I was actually thinking about this morning. There was one specific one with Junie and Libby that I did down here for Rookie Blue, which was I think was Copper at the time. And I had not been down here very long, and
By the way, when he's talking about down here, he's talking about Los Angeles because he's from Canada, and we didn't probably go over that.
okay. My bad. I should be more clear. But I remember
Just
auditioning for her, and it was the first time I had seen her. And I think my agents were like, "Hey, man, like, do a good job because she doesn't see a lot of people." Which is like it was maybe not the best like way to like frame it, but it was cool. And I remember walking out of there. She was like so kind and positive, and I remember walking out of there being like, regardless of whether I book this or not, I feel like I belong down here.
oh,
Um, so that was really cool. She looked at me and she was like, "You're great." She's like, why don't you have an agent down here? And I was like, well, I'm kind of new. And even like that, like I took so much out of that read. And I was gonna say, like, that's what like you guys on your end, you guys can really like give instill confidence, whether you get booked or not. Like things like that. I feel like some of my most formative moments in the whole business is with casting and just that bit of like, hey, like you belong here. I'll bring you back because like you can exist in this space. That's real powerful. So that's like the one I think off the top of my head that really stands out that I didn't get.
Do you remember a casting director who really stuck her neck out for you, championed for you, and really made the difference in that moment?
I mean, I think Julie and Libby have championed me. Like, they cast me in The Killing, ultimately a couple years later, and that show kind of changed the trajectory of my career. Um, but that's what I always tell people. I was like, don't worry about booking, worry about showing up and doing a great job because you might not be right for this, but if you do well, they'll just keep bringing you back until they can fit you into something that works. So your job as an actor is to go in there and just to do a great job, do your version of the material. Don't try to figure out what they may want because you'll never be able to guess that and you'll drive yourself nuts. Just go in there and do your take on it. And if you do well, they'll find something for you eventually. Um,
It's true. And honestly, if you're in a room or on Zoom with casting, we think we know what the director wants,
mhm.
or we think we know what we want.
Yeah.
But then every single casting I've ever had, there's more than one actor that surprises me with, well, that's a different way to go, and I like it.
Mhm. I mean, I always tell actors like rarely in a breakdown do I see a black guy with dreads. Like that's just not in most breakdowns. Facts. Like I rarely see it. So my job is to be like, hey, I know like it's not in the breakdown, but why don't you just consider this take? And a lot of times you're like, oh, that's not how we saw it before he walked in, but that why not? And so I think that's every actor's job is to be like offer them like a why not me kind of scenario. Make their jobs difficult in that way.
Right. No, I love that. Here's another weird question. Do you own wigs to show different looks or not?
No, I know. I don't do that. I mean now I have tape with me on with a wig because I did Snowfall. I did 2 seasons of Snowfall with a wig. So
Right.
that's a demo now. So for like anything period, I have it in my demo that this is what it looks like. But yeah, that was the first time I've ever worn a wig in a show. Also like super grateful because they could have just recast me. Um, which
100%.
is like easier almost. So happy that they're like, nah, let's just put a wig on him. So yeah, that was a really cool experience.
I mean, yeah. And honestly, those things can go either way.
Mhm.
Very easily they could have said, we got a number two here. We liked him just as well.
Yeah, this is easier. You don't have to, bring him in an hour early every day to get wigged and all that crap.
Takes an hour to put a wig on. I always thought that was crazy.
At least, at least.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, tell me some crazy stories about anything. Anything.
Oh man. I
Tell
mean,
us, spill some tea for us.
yeah, I'll tell you a crazy story. I did a show called The Best Years,
Mhm.
um, which was on N. We shot in Toronto. I think that might have been my first like series regular gig. And I was doing I was doing a horror movie in Calgary at the time. And so I had to fly out on the weekend to Toronto to test and then fly back. And we had shot, we were doing a night shoot in Calgary. So we were shooting, I think I wrapped at like 6 a.m. on the Saturday morning, flew to Toronto for like a 1 p.m. screen test. So like I'm literally on no sleep. I get to the screen test, and there's like three other guys for my role and four other girls for the opposite. So I get the sides, and I'm like, "What are these?" And they're like, "Oh, you didn't get the new sides?" And I'm like, "No." So I'm out there with like 9 pages of things that
Agreed.
I haven't slept yet.
Oh my
So I
God.
went to the casting director. I was like, "Hey, like, I didn't get these," and she's like, "You're kidding me." So she's just like, "Well, do what you had prepared and like just uh I mean you got to do it. You got to kind of work on the fly." And I ended up booking it. That was my first series regular role. And then I had to fly back to Calgary 5 p.m. that same day. It was wild. But yeah, so these are the kinds of things like when I tell actors, like, it's never sort of like a contained, like, things happen. Things will be thrown your direction. You might show up for, you think you're going to be doing your scene at 9 a.m. and they switch it around and you're in the trailer for 12 hours and your scene gets moved to 9 p.m. Like, you always have to be ready. And so that you always have to have like, just like a skill set where you can like whatever gets thrown at you, you're able to deliver. Because that's at the end of the day, it's a job. It's an art form and all that stuff. At the end of the day, you're getting paid, and other people around you are getting paid, and everybody's on the clock, and it's a job. And you got to be able to do your job.
I
You,
guess it's an
you,
exercise in like letting go of control also, and knowing within yourself like what it takes me to
Mhm.
like turn on, like what how long I need and how can I best show up when somebody calls me right now you got to do it, or if you're forced to wait. Like I can't imagine waiting like 12 hours for like a super dramatic scene, especially if you get there and you're all amped up to do it and then you're just waiting around,
We're gonna we're gonna push your scene to the end of the night, and you're like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
I
right?
mean, that's the job.
Yeah.
And so and I think it's fascinating. Like I feel like too, like you can kind of see how people react to stuff when they're in a room. But self-tapes are so controlled. Like you can do it 19 times so you can have it perfect, and then you might get on set and not have to be able to deal with all the chaos, which is a film and TV set, because it is chaotic, and so it's a fascinating conversation.
I completely agree with that, by the way, and I think that is why in person is so crucial at some point during the casting process, because you just don't know if these if somebody's going to freeze up, if somebody's you just don't know. I mean, especially I find this with kid casting. I
Right, right.
I very rarely ever cast kids just through self tapes, because it's one thing if they're casting and their mother's there filming them. It's another thing if they're if they're filming with an entire crew staring at them, and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, or it's like throwing them something that they haven't prepared. Be like, "Hey, try it this way." It's like, "Well, wait," and then like their whole world explodes
Yeah,
because you know what I mean?
I've
'Cause
seen it. Yeah.
it's not exactly like what because they're so used to having control over the environment in like a self-tape situation. So it's a fascinating conversation.
No, for sure, for sure. And yeah, kids, you really do have to see
Kid,
see them.
Well, I'm so excited about Wayward.
thank you. Me
I'm
too.
so excited. I love Mae Martin
Incredible.
and Toni Collette.
We are premiering it.
Oh, Toni Collette, yes.
Are
Um,
you premiering?
we're premiering at TIFF.
At TIFF? Oh,
Yeah, so I will be at TIFF. So that'll be fun. What are the dates? 4th to the 14th, I believe.
yeah, typically something in there.
September or October?
September.
September. Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's a really cool concept. It's like a limited series, 8 episodes only. Toni Collette is like one of like my acting idols from before I was
Yeah.
even an actor. Um, so it's funny, like when I'm like doing a scene with her, like I would just stare at her. Like I'm like, I don't understand how this is like, and then I have to remember, like I have things to say. Um,
Right.
it was really cool.
How do you get past that? I think yeah, tell me, because I think everybody needs to know, like, you're in the room with this, there you are with somebody that you admire so much.
It's really interesting, like, when I first moved to LA, like, auditioning in LA in person, because like, you just see a bunch of people that you see all the time on TV. So, like,
Right.
you kinda get accustomed to it, but there are a few people, like, I had this with, like, Laurence Fishburne. I did an episode of CSI, and that was, like, the first job I ever booked in Los Angeles, and, so, like, working opposite him, I was like it's just one of those moments, but, I mean, again, you have a job to do, you know what I mean? And,
So give our listeners a little bit of behind the scenes in terms of, so you're with Lawrence Fishburne. Do you go and talk his ear off? What goes on there?
I think it for me, and like this could also just be like a personality thing, but I just prefer to like listen and watch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like not to like make my mark or like even let people know I'm there. My job is to show up and do the best that I can, look Laurence in the eye and do the scene, and you know what I mean, and hope for.
Right.
But I'm not going there asking him about like acting tips and stuff. Like I just don't. There's like there's sort of like for good or for bad, better or for worse. There's like a pecking order on like a TV set, and like so you can't just go in there as a guest star talking about what's up, Larry, and like like you can't. That's a bad idea.
Exactly. Exactly. I just wanted to hear that because I think there are a lot of actors out there that get in that position and don't understand that and think it's their opportunity to bend the stars ear.
I think your opportunity is to do a great job, and then
Yes.
this is not this is not what you like. This is not the purpose of it, but like if you go in there and you do a good job, your hope is that as somebody like that is leaving, they're like, "Hey, well done. You came in, you did your 4 days, and you did a great job." And like that, that's like a gold medal. That's like a badge, I mean, of honor to take home with you. So I think that's your job.
So what was
Make
the
their
best?
job.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead,
I was
Molly.
just gonna say, and to make their job easier. Like, I
That's
mean,
it.
if you're really on it and you really are committed to the scene and everything like that, you're making it much easier for them to really explore their character and for them to be their best. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like I said, if when you're like I said, when you're a series regular, when you're there like 10 hours every day, all day, and you have multiple guest stars rolling through, like, you're not going to make your mark. You're going to make your mark by the work that you do. So yeah, always let the work speak for itself. I believe, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a crazy audition story, your craziest one.
Oh man, well, I gave you that one where I had no sleep and I got the wrong sides.
And
I
you
want a
flew
better
across the country to get
yes, in the middle on a red eye.
Yeah.
A
Not
crazy
everybody knows that that's all how long a trip that is because Americans are dumb. I didn't say that.
Okay, well, listen, I don't need ice coming to my door. So
No, that's true. That's true. Americans are lovely. We are smart and brilliant and all that.
I mean, I always tell like actors who have like never screen tested before,
Mhm.
like a pretty crazy experience because um like you work out your deal, but you don't sign it until you're in the room. And so like
Right?
yeah, so like you work out all the details and then you show up at Universal Studios or Fox Studios or whatever, and then they like hand you a packet. And then like you're there signing papers. I remember my very first screen test down here, like, you know, you're like, you're an actor down here, like you're not making a whole lot of money. And then all of a sudden, like you have like a 7-year deal and you're looking at the numbers and you're like signing it in front of 4 other guys who kind of look like you. And like I'll never forget, like my hand was literally shaking. And then you go in and perform in front of 13 people.
Wow.
knowing what's at stake.
Yeah, that's what I like seeing it and signing it, being like, man, like the next hour, sorry, being like the next hour could like change my life. So that's another thing with actors. It's like a lot of times, it's like in those moments, can you deliver? Because those are kind of can be like really overwhelming moments where an actor may be really good on set, but in that particular moment, that's like a highly, highly pressurized situation. And to go in there and to be able to deliver, and then like you'll go in there and you'll like read in front of like 12 people, and then you'll be like, okay, you're good. And then you'll come out and you'll wait for like another 2 hours in the waiting room, and then they'll bring the other guy in and you'll wait. And it's like a whole day process. And it takes a lot of stamina and just like a lot of sort of like internal fortitude, where it's like I can go in there and I can deliver and I can deliver and I can be tired and I can be nervous. And so yeah, that's like I feel like a lot of actors don't know that's the way it goes down until they're in the situation, and a lot of times it's too late.
This
You
is
have any
great information.
No, for sure. I was just wondering, do you have any like tips and tricks like as to how to distract yourself during that time while you're waiting and trying not to freak out? Like, are you listening to music? Is there a playlist? Is there like
Right.
what are you do you like to
I
get
just
out to walk around?
I just scroll like I try to make it like it's like no different than what I would be doing in any other waiting situation. You know what I mean? Which is like scroll on my phone. Like I just try to kind of take my mind off it so that when I have to go in, I can switch back in and it's not this sort of like build up. I think, if when you can make like the extraordinary ordinary, I think that's when you're at your best. So that's what I try to do.
Oh, there's the quote. If you can make the extraordinary ordinary, then you're at your best. I love that.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Exactly, exactly. All right, tell me if there's a genre because you've done everything. Is there something that you haven't done that you want to explore in the future?
I've done everything. I'll say like I probably am like I probably like comedy the least. Um,
Okay.
I'll
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll never forget, like, when I did She's the Man, which was, like, a big studio mo that's when I kinda realized, like, doing comedy is actually, like, a job, and, like, we were a bunch of young kids we weren't young, but, like, we were youngish kids, and we'd be having fun, and I remember, you know, the director would be like, "Cut," he's like, "Guys, this is not funny enough," which is, like, a hard piece of direction to get when you're meant to be funny.
Right.
Like, "Listen, like, this needs to be more funny. Y'all gotta show up every day ready to deliver the funny." And I was like and he was right. And everybody kinda did better after that. But he's like, "This is not a game. Like, there's no like, man, we'll like warm up." He's like, "Show up and be ready to deliver. Have your timing right. Have your beats down." And I remember thinking like, "Oh, like, yeah, this is a job." And like as a professional in this industry, you have to be able to do that job. And it was great. It was like one of like the best sort of like learning experiences of my life. He would always show up and be like, "Listen," he's like, "Guys, like I'm gonna shoot way more than I'll ever need." He's like, "Show up to set every day and give me a reason to cut to you." He's like,
Oh, I
"Because
love that.
a lot of this is gonna end up on the cutting room floor." He's like, "So if your job is to show up every day on set and give me a reason to keep you in the movie, to cut to you." And I never forgot that. That was like really, really valuable.
No,
Yeah.
that's so good. Um,
You're so good in comedies, though. Like, I was just thinking about Dead Before Dawn. You have this, like, hilarious scene that's just super unexpected, I think, for you, but, like, you nailed it. Like, it's just so different,
Thank you.
and yeah, I would love to see you in more comedies, but I guess that's just me being selfish.
No, and like I enjoy them. I just for me they're more difficult, so maybe that's why I don't enjoy them because like I I'm less confident in them.
Yeah,
Um because I think there's like a less of a gray area. Like oftentimes something's funny or it's not. Like, in drama you can kind of there's sort of a more of a, a middle ground, but I feel like if a joke doesn't land, it doesn't land. And so
so true.
when you show up on the day and if you're feeling like something's not working or it can be a little bit stressful. But yeah, anyway.
so what's your training background?
Well, I almost had a theater minor. I went to university in New York at the University at Albany. And so I did a couple plays there. So that's kind of like where my training started. And then I moved home back to Vancouver in 2002 and I just kept taking classes. So I took a lot of classes in Vancouver, and then I was in a great class down here for a lot of years. And I really am a big believer in class, especially like when we were auditioning in person, because you just get accustomed to performing in front of people, and it doesn't become this big thing. It becomes something again you make it ordinary. So if you're performing in front of people every week, you walk in front of people, and it's not a big deal. Um,
I
so I
mean, you always have to work out. It doesn't matter. You could do it in person, you could do it on Zoom, but you do. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, you have to it's like I said, the muscle will atrophy if you don't use it. It's no different from anything else. Um, so yeah, that's kind of I'm just kind of constantly just training and then obviously working a lot, which has been nice.
Yeah, that's its own training, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's all different towards like little different skill sets. Like auditioning is one skill set. Being on set and doing a procedural drama, which I did while Bransom, completely different skill sets, which I had never done. So yeah, it's all sort of tools that you kind of acquire over the years and put in the bag and hopefully you can bring it out when you need it.
So tell me how often they give you rehearsal on set.
Rehearsal, I mean, you do like a line reading, maybe once. You do like a blocking, you know, maybe once. A lot of times, like the director knows where you're gonna do and where you're gonna go beforehand, which like I don't love, but again, like you can either spend an hour like debating it, or you can be like as an actor, yeah, if this is how it's got to be, let me try to figure it out so that we're not spending an hour just to make me comfortable when there's four other people in the scene, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what we're saying. Show up prepared to
Yeah, prepared, and you might have an idea about how it's going to be in your head, and the director's like, no, no, and then you got to be able to be like, oh, okay, that's fine, I can also do that. So that's part of it. I think that's such a, I guess, like maybe like an underrated skill set to have. um or like I said, like if somebody's coverage is taking forever and they're like, listen, Brandon, like we only have time for like two takes on yours, you
that's
know,
it.
because we got to get out of this scene. You got to be able to, you got two times. You got to know it. You got to know it. You got to do a decent enough job, right? Where they'll keep it in the movie.
And it most of the time you're not reaching for perfect. That's also a good thing to know, right?
And like I always tell actors, like however you feel about a scene is really inconsequential because it's not meant for you to feel, it's meant for others to consume. So whatever you feel about it, who cares? Just try to be present, try to be as honest as you can. And there's a lot of times where like I'll watch something and I'll be like, man, I remember like on the day that felt awful. And then you watch it back and like, actually that wasn't bad. That was pretty
Right.
good. And like I did it. Like maybe somebody who's like in Iowa thinks it's great. So it's really not up to me to like be the judge. It's up to me to show up and be truthful, know my material, and then go home.
Brilliant, brilliant. Molly, have either one of you have any last thoughts? Any before we bring our feedback actor on?
Oh, I'm so happy with this conversation. I think that Brandon is such a cool person to talk to because he is kind of everywhere. He's such a working, like he is the definition of a working actor. Like he's on so many things. And I have to say, every time I see him pop up on something, I completely trust it. Like, I know whatever it is, Brand, I'm just along for the ride because no, truly. And it's a remarkable skill to have, especially when you're transitioning through so many different, genres and different characters and stuff like
With
that.
different ages, like it's also like, all of a sudden you start playing different types of roles. And like now, you have an 8-year-old kid in the show, and you're like, when did that happen? So like that's also part of it.
It's
Absolutely.
your life just kind of sprawled out in front of you. So now we're moving to our casting confidential feedback session, and we have brought in an actor from the Instagram raffle. And congratulations, Kirsten Johnson. And Kirsten, is it Kirsten or Kirsten? Tell me that.
It's Kirsten, but I answer to anything close.
Well, I try and be right. So welcome, Kirsten. And you're gonna be reading against Brandon, and just go for it. And we're gonna give you guys feedback and you'll get to do it again.
That's great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Maryland. So I'm on the East Coast. I'm a little bit north of Baltimore.
Wonderful. And how long have you been in the acting biz?
I started acting, well, I told my parents when I was a little kid, probably about first grade, that I wanted to be in movies and TV just because it looked like so much fun and I loved it so much. So they actually found me a local agent at that time, and I started doing extra work at that point. So I've
Oh
just
my God.
been off and on since then, and I just love it.
That's so great. Well, welcome to the show. Let's hear what you guys got.
All right. Anytime.
Anytime. I'm getting my popcorn out. Go ahead.
uh Casey, why am I listed as your emergency contact?
Because you pick up your phone and you're not my mom or my ex or my improv coach.
Did you eat 6 edibles and call an ambulance again?
It was 4, thank you very much. And I thought my lungs were collapsing, but it turns out it was just digestion.
Okay, Casey.
Don't lecture me. I have had a very traumatic morning. A nurse shaved part of my chest for no reason.
No, I'm pretty sure there was a reason.
She said it was just in case. What does that even mean? Am I going to war?
No. You're going home with me because apparently I'm your legal person.
You should be honored.
I'm reconsidering everything.
Fine. Ooh, can we stop for pancakes?
Great.
That was
Yeah.
great. Molly.
Yeah, I thought that was lovely. I thought you did a great job. I thought that was very fun, very light, which I enjoyed. I don't know, we'll talk about after feedback, but I might like to see a version where it's a bit more, the stakes are a bit higher. Maybe it's a bit more serious. Maybe, Brandon is you're a bit more of a liability, I would say. Perhaps, you are in a hospital after all, right?
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then I'd go just the opposite. I'd want it funnier.
right.
You know? So I want you to. Oh, and Brandon, what do you have for feedback? What do you think?
I mean, I was reading, but I mean, I think we maybe just sort of play the circumstance a little more. Um, uh, and I mean, not on a day, but yeah, like you're like this is like the physicality of it, where you're like in a waiting room, maybe you know what I mean, like just maybe more just relaxed. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Are you guys going funnier or more serious?
I think they're going in the middle. I think they're going in the middle, just more.
Okay. All right. All right.
Why am I listed as your emergency contact?
Because you pick up your phone and you're not my mom or my ex or my improv coach.
You need 6 edibles and call an ambulance again.
It was 4. Thank you very much. And I thought that my lungs were collapsing, but it turns out it was just digestion.
That's gross. Casey?
Don't lecture me. I have had a very traumatic morning. A nurse shaved part of my chest for no reason.
I'm pretty sure there was a reason.
She said it was just in case. What does that even mean? Am I going to war?
No, you're going home with me because apparently I'm your legal person.
You should be honored.
I'm reconsidering everything.
Fine. Ooh, can we stop for pancakes?
I loved that.
That was such a
love
great
that.
adjustment.
Yeah, the adjustments were perfect. I really liked that. That was great.
And like that's so good. Like sometimes it doesn't take much, right? It can just take a little pump up, like a little zhuzh on one end or the other. And that can kind of lift it up. And also like I know for you guys, like just having a second or third chance to like hear it out again, just so you can hear the timing, how it goes, that can always make such a difference.
Love
Totally.
it. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Kirsten, thank you for jumping on our feedback train. We loved having you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Brandon. That
Thank you,
wraps
guys.
this episode of Casting Confidential. You guys were amazing. And thanks for being with us. And Molly, it's always good to have you in the room. I love where you come from and where you're going.
Love you, Rose. And thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on today. It was honestly a pleasure to hear your experience and your advice. Loved it.
I really appreciate y'all having me on. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, rate, and review Casting Confidential. Follow us on socials. Follow Brandon. Follow Kirsten. She needs a few followers. I promise you this. And follow Molly. And we'll drop their links in the show notes. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. That's a wrap on today's episode of Casting Confidential. If you're loving the show, here's what you need to do. Follow us right now on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling inspired, take a minute to leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to help us grow and keep bringing you these behind-the-scenes stories. Join the conversation with us on Instagram at Casting Confidential and drop us your thoughts or questions. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your craft sharp and your audition sharper. See you back here for another episode of Casting Confidential.
One of the greatest podcasts in television and film with Rose Rosen, CSA, and all the friends. Bringing you Casting Confidential. Casting, that's essential. Casting, so eventful. Time to tune in to close friends, chillin' with Rose. We call it Casting Confidential. Get a notepad ready, grab a pen and pencil. For magic to jot down, tell a friend too. A wonderful podcast and TV and film, we call it Casting Confidential. Let's go.